Alright, so I seem to be back in business. Clean and build. The usual step to verify that things work properly. And oh yeah, so this really doesn't let me use characters as integers. So I will take it back. I will think about meaningful examples later on, but the trick really is to use basically Unicode syntax to express characters. Unicode syntax like this. I'll think about more, you know, meaningful examples. Okay, so let's just make sure that we can talk about the basic things first. Some of the character literals cannot be expressed directly on the keyboard. For example, you may want to use maybe a new line or line feed. So those are expressed with escape sequence syntax, and that means using backslash in front of a character literal, right? So the tab, there is a new line separate from carriage return. Um, for example, carriage return is represented by decimal 13, whereas line feed or new line is represented by decimal 10. Normally, most people use the new line to embed a new line inside a string. For example, in my project here, I could say hello new line world, and I'm using a capitalized letter so that you can spot easily the new line embedded in my string. So if I save this and again try to build and then run it. Oh, I never printed anything, so I was hoping to see, right? So system dot out dot print line, and we'll print string as is. So again, save it and run it. And so here it is. Hello world is printed on, with the line break. So the line break occurred because I did embed a new line in my string. And I used it by using a character escape sequence, which represents a new line character. That's why it's called backslash lowercase n. By the way, don't make this mistake. Forward slash has nothing to do with this. It's just a normal character. So if I do this, I get what I just printed. Forward slash n. Okay, there's no that it is not an escape character. So other examples, tab, which creates extra space and tabulates everything on the certain positions. Carriage return can sometimes be used, for example, on a Mac OS, oftentimes used for in text files to separate individual lines. So carriage return is used on a Mac. On a Linux machine, typically, or Unix, new line is the line delimiter in plain text file, whereas on Windows, both are used. Carriage return line feed is typically the line delimiter on Windows. More on this later when we talk about files. Double quote can be also expressed as a through an escape sequence inside the character literal, and also the backslash itself has to be somehow there should be a way to express a backslash. So therefore, one backslash doesn't work because it's reserved for escaped characters. So if I need to express backslash literally, I need to use it twice. So now if I run it, it will just print a normal backslash without treating it as uh, as a as a escape indicator of an escape sequence. So if I need two of them in a row, I need to do it twice. So making four of these will result in two of them printed. Okay, so that's the situation. Okay, so I guess usable, pretty straightforward. Escape sequence of strings. This is something that we just demonstrated like this. There's a new line in some string. There are some tab characters embedded somewhere else in the string. What I have to warn you about is that sometimes when I do this, right, and I have like 55 files in my project because I have 55 different classes and they're stored in different files, and I do know that someplace I use this the combination of characters, and I'd like to search for them. And oftentimes programmers like to turn off, if you go to edit and use your find dialog box, which will actually, where is it? Edit, find in projects, for instance. So you really want to execute your global search someplace, and oftentimes the search for whole words is selected. In this case, if you type world as is, because it's being prefixed by this escape character, you won't find it. It can be a little frustrating. So whenever you can, you need to kind of make this assumption and remember that sometimes you just need to not to search for whole words, which is convenient to search for variable names, class names, and things alike. So just this kind of warning that it may be really frustrating, and you know it's there and you're not finding it. It means that you need to adjust your settings that you use in your search options. Okay. Any questions about anything that's being discussed so far? Yes, Bruce.
Yeah. One of the questions is, when you told to run,
Mhm.
because you put that one underneath the string, you told it to put an
Escape.
well, no. It came up hello world with the exclamation point.
Yes, it's right here because I'm actually concatenating my string with a character.
Okay.
That's
So
why.
that's what you're doing. Is you're telling it put
Yes.
down what that string says plus whatever that character.
What happens is the outcome of this line is that the string is modified. The string is modified, and the brand new string, in fact, is constructed, which will now contain the exclamation point, which I stored in a single character. Good question. Another question.
What was the need for the plus equal sign? I mean, I thought
Just to demonstrate that individual character variables can be used with strings.
Yeah, but in order to do the string concatenate with character,
Mhm.
how come you're doing it putting an equal sign there after the plus sign?
Oh, this is the abbreviated version of this.
Oh,
Those two do the same thing.
is that good programming practice to abbreviate like that?
This is a better programming practice, yes.
Plus escape.
Most people will choose this, and the reason is because it's shorter. And you should feel comfortable with creating an integer like this, count, right? Equals 0, for example. And then someplace, instead of saying count equals count incremented by 2, most professional programmers would prefer this.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm relating back to 45 years ago.
Mhm.
My professor did have that with us, said that obfuscates it. You know, it doesn't make it clear to someone who really doesn't know the language.
Most programmers
Today,
will prefer this.
this
Yes.
will be the way that most programmers will do
Yes.
And will that be cross-programs as well?
Yes.
Like in C?
Exact same practice in C and C++. Yes, this is, yes.
Without a need to put a comment line?
No need to comment. No. That's just completely straightforward practice. Yes, Sean. Yes.
I found out how to add that one.
Oh, the one above?
Yeah.
So tell me. I'm glad to.
In parentheses, you put a CHAR after the equals.
Oh, that's a smart way of doing this. Like do something. Oh, well, I guess do something like this. Cast it to. This really doesn't let me. Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, cast one to a character. Possible loss of
But
precision.
you need to put char before the full equation.
So you're suggesting this? I don't know why make me struggle so much with this. Something like that?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. It's good to know because sometimes I struggle with those things. In C or C++, this will never be an issue because the compiler is much less pickier about characters in those environments. Apparently, Java has its own set of rules. So we will come back to this. Any other questions? Okay. So more on the operators in the second part of our talk this week. Quotation marks embedded inside a string. Okay, if I wanted to include the world thing, let me close this find option so it doesn't highlight anything. If I wanted to enclose this in quotes, I couldn't do it like this because double quotes are used for, the string syntax itself. So you need to escape them. That's why escape will work just fine. So now double quotes will be just fine. And so this time I print world with double quotes. So the double quotes become embedded inside the string. Okay. So all of this slightly complicates the syntax, but typically once you get it right, you can forget about the details, right? So that's the good news. But when you have to work on those individual characters, you just pay attention to the fact that an escape sequence, which is one single backslash, applies to the next value in that uh, uh, sequence of characters. Or, over here I could use, I don't know, somewhere here I could just use backslash quote. So my character here will contain a quote, but to express that, look, I had to use like 4 characters, 2 single quotes, and 1 escape character with the escape symbol, which is backslash, and then the quote itself. So finally, I did what I wanted to do, to express it in this form. Okay, so again, maybe sometimes we overcomplicating things, but those are the things that are really important to remember when you program with